call this Vernon Selectboard meeting to order.
I know it's been a long day.
It has been a very, very long day. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gotta get out tonight's agenda and put away our budgets. Okay, there's no public participation because you're really not public, so this is time for chairman's remarks. I know that a lot of people know the incident that happened in town last Monday. I want to take a minute on behalf of the rest of the select board to sincerely thank all of those emergency personnel that were involved. Our state police, our police department, our fire department. Keith, we want to extend an extreme debt of gratitude to you for all that you have done. I know your tenure as our interim police chief is just about up, but we want you to know we really, really appreciate the work that you've done on behalf of the town of Vernon. Also, I want to give a kudos to a couple of our own police officers. Our officers did a great job last Monday night. But the week before that, on Halloween, we had two of our younger officers that were around the village for quite some time, and one of them was handing out candy to the children, and the other one was patrolling. And you know, I think it's really important for young children to feel comfortable around their police officers. If you trust them and feel comfortable around them when you're young, you'll continue to, you know, with that trust as you become a teenager and the more troubling years that you'll experience. So I really want to thank them for going above and beyond and reaching out to the kids in this community. I just have always thought that that's really such an important part of policing. So, and on the last note, we are going to be having our spaghetti dinner on December 13th. We're going to have a fundraise. Try to raise some money for some of our families in town who are really struggling. The economy, as I've said before, is very, very difficult, and many people in this town have lost their jobs, which makes what's supposed to be a joyous holiday season very difficult for them. And we want to reach out and extend a neighborly hand to those people. So I ask you all to come to the spaghetti dinner. We'd love to have volunteers. It is going to be at the Vernon School at 5:30 and 6:30. We're going to have seatings. Obviously, it's spaghetti and rolls, salad, all the usuals, and there will be a Chinese auction at the same time. So if you're a crafty person and you have some talent and you have things that you'd like to donate to the Chinese auction, we would love to have them. And I thank the town in advance for their support, because I know that Vernon people will come out in huge support of each other.
Patty, do we know a cost at this time?
$8 for adults and $4 for kids. Okay. Also, I'd like to mention that our buddy Chris is out of the hospital and on the mend and doing very, very well. We miss her companionship at our meeting. It's been pretty quiet here without her, but we're glad that she's doing better, and she will be here back with us real soon. So, okay, approval of minutes. Minutes for November 5th. Do I have a motion?
I moved that we approved the minutes as written.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of November 5th as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. You have some things you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, just a couple of paragraphs here in the minutes that I just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
One is on the motion that Sandy made for the $800, and I think it was $839.81 for Michael. I just want to clarify that the emergency building repair is a line item. It's not a fund.
Okay.
It's a line item within your selectmen's budget. So I just don't want people to get the idea that it's
That we have a big
that
fund.
we do have a fund with
Mhm.
that. It is not. It's a $25,000 line item. And then the other point of clarification was for the turkeys and hams. Jeff Dunkley had stopped in the office prior to this being discussed and asked me what I thought about adding a third option for turkeys, hams, and then the donation of the turkey or ham to some other place. And I don't know if you talked about that at the meeting.
We talked about it prior to the meeting, I think, just as the meeting was starting.
Okay, because probably I would appreciate there being a clarification that we're gonna add that so that people who wish to donate their ham and turkey will be able to do that, if that's okay. And I think that's all that I had, that I was.
What do you think?
Clarify, and Bob, we will be doing that probably next week. We don't ever have the turkeys or hams prior to Christmas. I mean, yeah, it's not Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, so we don't have them for Thanksgiving, we have them for Christmas. And I'm just wondering, are you gonna be the one that will contact Dan then at Hannaford and get all that? Okay, and then you'll be in touch with me, cause I'll have all of those. Okay, and then, we'll make a date that the employees can come get them. I know you were the one that were you were planning to pick them up, but I wanted to be sure that you knew that we'd have to coordinate with Dan. Yet, he knows the time they come in and they can get you a really good price on them.
Did you want to clarify the repair issue?
The repair, which one is that one, Sandy, what page?
I don't remember, it's under budget.
Oh, yeah, the $5,000 one. There was a comment under budget issues that the Tahoe repair was involved in that $11,000 figure that was spent, and that is not the case. We received money from VLCT for minus our deductible, which was actually, it turned out we didn't have to pay $1,000 for it. The repair was less money, so only $500 actually came out of that line item. The rest of it came out of what is called deferred compensation, which is where I put compensation we received to be spent later. So that $5,000 did not come out of that $11,000. So I did want to clarify that too. Thank you, Sandy.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
I move that we approve warrants 11 SG, accounts payable $31,707.63, 45S payroll $12,508.66, 46S payroll $12,688.04.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and pay warrants 11 SG, accounts payable $31,707.63, 45S payroll $12,508.66, and 46S payroll $12,688.04. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do you have anything else, Sally? Oh,
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
okay, we have to decide what we have a bill here for $137.13 for signs, neighborhood watch signs. We need to know where would be a good place for us to take that out of select board's budget.
Probably.
Yeah, okay. So you need a motion for that?
So
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to take out $137.13 for neighborhood watch signs from the select board's budget. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Also, we have an invoice here from People's United Bank. This needs to be paid for out of retirement, so I need a motion for that. It's for $708.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to take the invoice for People's United Bank for services out of the retirement budget. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do you have anything else, Sally?
No.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna be up here for David.
David,
so,
yes.
around.
Keith? Move into the front row.
And I appreciate your earlier comments. Everyone did a phenomenal job, including the community that supported us. Jeff for letting us use his property for our operations center, given he has a very busy farm. It worked out very well. And even the media that was calling, they understood why we were giving out limited information. They worked with us to make sure that what we did provide was accurate and sort of kept things calm instead of a lot of people showing up out of curiosity. We also had support south of us. Mass State Police, Northfield PD, Berniston all supported this also. So, it's one of those rare situations where even the offender, the only injuries he had were the self-inflicted ones from very early in the day. And so when you have that kind of tense situation for that kind of outcome where no one was injured, it's phenomenal. So
It really is, and we were really blessed that it turned out the way it did.
it was just, it was truly a team effort across the board. So thank you for that. Just another update. It's my understanding Mary Beth will be back Monday. I did speak to her earlier today, so I would meet with her next Monday morning, just to give an update on the stuff that I've been working on and some insight. I did point out to her, probably somewhere in her mailbox, there's a letter from the FBI. There is a conference in February that I would recommend that she go to. It's a 5-day conference in Connecticut. It's actually put on by the FBI. It's the Law Enforcement Executives Development Seminars. I went in 2008. I'll go again this coming year. Great training, great opportunity to network. I would recommend that she apply and that the board approve that and encourage her to go. She's away for a week, but what she brings back will be very valuable to the community. So
We talked earlier about wanting to make sure that she has the opportunity to go to some of the conferences and to be with her peers when they're meeting, because it is an important, valuable tool in any of our jobs. I mean, I always enjoyed it as a legislator. I gained unbelievable knowledge. Sandy being very involved in all the town clerk stuff has gained unbelievable. It's an important part of what we do, and it's how you learn.
I get a lot out of the ones that I go to, not only here in Vermont but within the region. So again, this one's in Connecticut, but I went a few years ago. One of the presenters was Dr. Lee, the forensic guy.
He's great. I went to a conference he spoke at. It was excellent.
So again, we had people come in from Homeland Security and the Postal Service, ways that you can support your community really at no cost once you know who the contacts are. So anyway, again, I spoke to her earlier today. She's looking forward to coming back, and I'm looking forward to. I'd like to say give her back the keys, but I actually don't have a set of keys. But letting her pick up where I'm leaving off. So it's been my privilege and honor to help out the town of Vernon.
Well, you've done a really great job for us, and we really, really appreciate you stepping in like this. It's been a great experience for all of us. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I guess we're here to talk about budgets. No one ever really wants to talk. I did ask Mary Beth about because I wanted to make sure the support services that we were not missing something. She said essentially that's the dispatch costs and village, which we agreed to separate into a separate line.
Well, we did find out today that the contract for dispatch last year was never signed by the chair. So that's why there's so much money in that budget, because we've actually never been billed for dispatch because we never signed the contract for dispatch. So this year's contract was signed, and the year before last was signed, but last year's was not signed. So.
Well, why did you sign this year's? Didn't sign last year's.
I didn't know about last year's. I wasn't the chair. I signed this year's because it came in and I was supposed to sign it.
I'm still surprised you didn't receive a bill, but that's between you and Department of Public Safety.
That's what Sally said. I mean, doesn't one hand talk to the other? I mean, somebody should have known. you know, they're doing dispatch for us for a year. The contract never got there. We never got billed. I mean, that's, you know, it's a little crazy.
It is, but,
State government at work.
yeah. So, again, so those, you know, the support services is your dispatch. I gave you the numbers that came in from the Department of Public Safety. It's
840.
11,840. I don't know, Chief Huber didn't seem to think there was anything else that would go in that line, so I would leave it at the 11,840.
Okay.
So there's that $5,000 you wanted me to save. Can I leave now? Auto repairs and maintenance is really your big one. And if you look at the numbers over the last 5 years,
Yeah, five's the ones I gave you.
they've been slowly creeping up and giving us cars that are getting close. We're up there in age. That cost is going to continue to go up. And so, I'm almost prepared. Actually, if you look at FY8, it looks like they were creeping up, and then it looks like probably that when you bought the Charger,
I believe so.
and then your cost started to drop, so that you can start to see, now they're starting to creep up again. I think already this year we're at 54. Yeah, and we've still got 7 months to go. 8 months to go, because you would only had. Got 8 months to go. Told you I needed a calculator.
It's late, Pete.
It is, and, so I think, yeah, we're over 5,000, we're overspent already for this year. So again, what you have to look at is if you buy the, you know, were to buy a car this year, it's likely to reduce your maintenance, so you may not need the 12,000 in there. You also keep in mind you have another car, the 2007 Dodge is creeping up, and that's gonna start adding to your maintenance woes. So you have to, the board really needs to decide what direction it wants to go. Your maintenance costs are going up, and those are gonna continue to go up. All I can do is give you the numbers, and that's a decision that the board working with the finance committee. I have been working on the assessment to determine end of useful life. I think Marion, is it Maryland?
Maryland.
Maryland. Too many Marys in your community. She has the draft.
Mhm.
We've gone back and forth. I think she's gonna present it the next, she's in Florida.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to keep up. And so, which will help us make that determination, what is end of useful life,
Mhm.
instead of the very subjective, almost guess point that you're at now.
Mm-hmm.
But, so that's a big value item in your police budget is maintenance. It's not gonna go down if the fleet stays at its current age. So just,
Now, I know you've been working with Marilyn on the what is end of useful life, but have you talked to the finance committee at all about the capital plan?
in what regard?
In the cars and the situation of the cars, or where we're at, what's the future?
Yes, and I would advocate replacing the Crown Vic. If not, what you're looking at, you have the 2007 Dodge and you have the 2005 Crown Vic.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting close to their end of useful life. What I see potentially happening if you don't replace one or the other this year, for the next year, you're going to either have to replace them both at the same time, or they're just going to be or they're both going to have major failures at the same time, leaving your fleet depleted. And that is a risk with a small fleet that you don't want to take. At losing one, you could probably get away with losing 2 cars and being down to 1. Because then what happens is you add a lot of mileage to the one that's remaining. And if something happens, it's
Did you have a chance to check at all on a lease or something along
I
those lines?
did check, real quickly, no one is offering what would be like a personal lease, like what you and I would get to buy a car or lease a car for our home. And the reason that is because of the heavy use on police cars. What they're calling a lease really is, it's a loan. You're getting at a very low interest rate with a $1 buyout at the end of that lease period. Typically, it's a 3-year lease, but you can get it for less. So there, if for me, it's something that I do because it's a way for me to not deplete my capital, my checking account. I spread that cost out over 3 years, but I keep the cars 5 to 6 years. If at the end of 6 years it's still usable, I put it out as just a detail car sitting at the side of the road. But every time a maintenance bill comes in, I look at, is it worth it to put any more money in? For example, last week I took a car off the road. It has about 180,000 miles. And it was relatively minor repair. I said, it's just not worth it putting more money into this car. I'm just not seeing between repairs the return on my money. So we just took it off the road. And it'll be replaced this coming spring when I make my next set of purchases. So, and as I've said before, my fleet's different than your fleet, what I have available. I'm just saying you do have to start looking at, even in your, community with your size of your fleet, what is the best bang for your buck? Do you want to continue to put, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year into a couple of cars when you could use that money towards purchasing? And, I mean, it's the same assessment you do with your personal car. At what point is it just not worth it anymore? And I know there's a lot of discussion between the police department, finance committee, and the select board. And I sort of came in at the middle. I'm trying to I am giving you my sort of outside objective opinion on why you should replace that car. I think there's some ways you could save on the cost. I think you don't necessarily need a new light bar, the one that you have, but I think the one you have has already been moved from one car to another. There's some equipment that you may not need to purchase, that you can get away, without having to reduce that overall cost to save some money. But that's a discussion to have with the chief hero, what you think is critical for that car.
Yeah, and that's actually a conversation that you'd have to have with the finance committee too.
Right.
Because, they're the ones that have set up this, go back to 3 cars and have them last longer and be able to keep 3 cars on the road. So the select board really wasn't involved in any of that conversation.
Erlen said that there's somewhere along the line, it was supposed to go 9-year replacement cycle for police cars. It's really not a reasonable number. I mean, I don't know how that number was determined, but I think you're seeing the result of that if you're looking at, for a 3-car fleet, a $12,000 a year maintenance budget.
Well, the problem is, and the history behind it was the town meeting a couple of years ago voted to go to 2 cars. And the police department wanted to keep 3. So the finance committee worked with the police department on how to keep a fleet of 3 without it costing the taxpayers any more money in the capital bill. So we wouldn't have to raise more money in the capital bill to replace the cars sooner. And they came up with mileage and years. And, the information that you gave us from Gillette, was it Gillette, Wyoming?
Yeah.
I think is great, because you're right, there's never been a definition, not only for the police cars, but for all of our equipment. There's never been a definition other than end of useful life, and I think we need to have something a little stronger than end of useful life, and I'm glad that, that the finance committee is working on that. But, the hard thing is, this has gone in front of the taxpayers, and this is what the taxpayers have agreed on. So we can't turn around now and say, well, we're going to lessen the amount of years, we're going to lessen the amount of miles, and we're going to renege on everything that we told you at town meeting. And that's really what where we're at right now. The finance committee feels like they've been put between a rock and a hard place because this is the agreement that they made. So I just feel it's fair that the police department and the finance committee have to figure this out, and then the select board can get involved. I get what you're saying, but again, the details between the state police and the sheriff's department and the Vernon police are completely different.
Correct.
You
And
know.
again, I'm looking at this, just at your numbers, just looking at the dollar amounts for your community.
Mhm.
And I think when that conversation occurred, I certainly wasn't here, and I don't know how far people delved into the dollar amounts, but I think what you're going to see, and you're already starting to see, is a conflict between the Finance Committee's capital plan
Mhm.
and then your year-to-year operational expenses. So the capital plan, they're trying to stick to their marching orders from the town, which is a 9-year or so many mile cycle. But on the other side, you're picking up those costs
Mhm.
with higher maintenance.
Maybe the town needs to readdress whether or not we keep 3 cruisers or go back down to 2 and buy a brand new one. I mean, that's certainly something that the taxpayers have a right to discuss because they're involved in the original.
And I'm not gonna spend tonight arguing
No,
about whether or not
I know.
you do 2 or 10 or 100, but
And-
you need to really look at leveraging your money the best that you can, and I'm looking at your maintenance costs are not going down.
No, and I would say, Patty, if I can, that you're raising this money. You've already got the money in the capital
Capital plan.
plan raised, so we are costing the taxpayer more money
Mm.
by increasing our repair line.
And I don't know what, what the next step is going to be. I won't be, I would certainly be happy to work with Chief Hebert, to work with the board to, from my experiences and the information I have, but, the chief has the same information. But I think it's going to require civil discourse between all three, the police department, finance committee, and the select board, to say, how do we best
Mhm.
watch the money that belongs to the town? Because, again, it's the same checkbook that's paying for your capital plan, is paying for your maintenance. And, I'm just sitting here looking at your maintenance costs, and if it was, if I was the chief, I'd be like, what can we do as a community to get this back down? And I'm not saying you need to buy 3 new cars every year, but I also see, look at the age of your fleet, and you got 2 cars that I'm really worried that you're gonna have to replace at the same time. The Tahoe, because it's, it's a heavy-duty vehicle, you might be able to get it to that 8-9 year mark because of they're designed to last longer. These other cars, even the Crown Vics are good. I mean, they hold up much better than the smaller 2-wheel drive cars, but they still have up, so.
Well, that's a conversation we're gonna have to make sure that we get the police department and the finance committee together, and they're gonna have to have that conversation. Because my understanding is, that a lot of the money on those, last year's maintenance cost wasn't the Crown Vic. It wasn't the majority of
And again,
the bills,
That's,
so.
there is a balance between the Crown Vic and the Dodge. But both those cars are getting up there in age. And to keep in mind, you don't want your fleet down, if they both go out, then you're gonna be in trouble. I mean, your costs will go through the roof at that point, especially if you have to buy them off-cycle, outside the state bid price or something else. That last-minute cruiser purchase is very expensive to make.
Okay, well, we'll ask the finance committee to look at the bills from last year and find out, because my understanding is, Sally, that the Dodges had more
That could very well be.
repairs than the Crown Vic, so maybe we need to look at that.
Mixed reviews on the Dodges. I talked to the Dodge rep, and what I'm getting is that once they get the money back on their research and development tooling, they're going to stop producing them.
This is the new one that they're gonna buy?
No, the Dodges that are out there.
Oh,
Dodge is selling them just to get essentially their money back on their cost to develop them.
well, isn't the new one they're gonna buy a Dodge also?
No, it was a Ford.
Was it a Ford?
Mhm.
Why did
I think it was one of the Taurus
The Taurus
Interceptor.
all-wheel drive, which is the car that Ford is replacing the Crown Vic with. The
With.
Crown Vic, they're no longer producing. They stopped producing them this past fall. So, the state police, and I was talking to someone the other day, they're looking at replacing their fleet, going to more of an SUV style vehicle. Like, because they're not gonna be able to get the full-size Crown Vics anymore. So, a lot of departments, I think even the state police have already purchased 10 of the all-wheel drive Ford Tauruses. And that is the car that's being pushed.
Did we have a Taurus before, or was that a Chevy Impala?
Had an Impala.
Impala.
The new Taurus is completely reworked, doesn't look, there's none of the same components as the old Taurus.
The old Taurus was a good, tough car, but the problem with this new Taurus is it hasn't really been out there.
The SUV that they're pushing is based on the Ford Explorer frame. It's slightly beefier. So that's the tough decision you have to work with Finance Committee and Police Department on. Understand that at the rate you're going, 12,000 for maintenance is probably where if nothing else changes, is where you're going to be at, or slightly above next year. We did look into the copier cost, which I think is a bit high. And it's like it's a contract, what, 2016, 2015?
Yeah, through 2016.
I don't know if there's a way to get out of that. I mean, you're looking at paying them $175 a month. So you're essentially, it's like that rental plus thing, where, you think you had a good rental deal, then you look at the long term, maybe it's not such a good deal.
Could have bought 3 copiers for that price.
It's easy, money to begin with, because you're not spending a lot of money quickly out of your checkbook, but over the long run, you may want to look at not doing that, or finding a better deal. I don't know if there's a way to get out of the contract, Jeff, now, or find a way to reduce it, but.
Isn't there an organization, Sally, that, municipalities can buy their office equipment type stuff through?
Well, Green Mountain Machines are, what Sandy and I have are supported, isn't it? Like the government.
Well, that's what I'm.
Yeah,
State bid.
they're state backed or whatever.
Why did the police department go through a state bid?
I cannot answer that.
How long have we had the contract?
It's only been about a year. They got it, a little bit after I got mine, after town meeting. So
I was thinking they got it through the same place that you guys
No.
did.
They went OC, didn't they?
Yeah,
They went where?
they went
OC.
OSE.
OC. Which is what the library has, right?
Yes, and also the school has OSE.
Has the library got such a high?
Yeah, it's about the same.
We really need to get together as a town and start going through one buying pool, so we're not paying outrageous amounts in one department.
I think we need to be consistent between
Yes.
departments about what we're doing.
Absolutely.
I got a question, this might be more towards Keith. How about like a demo model off the floor that they've shown? That's what I bought at the garage last time, just to save money, because I don't need, but it's just one people have come in and used. If it's something they can use, go with a demo off the floor that's a year old.
I mean, that certainly is an option. The OSA systems, through their contract, the upside is if it breaks, they come in, they repair it, their service is pretty good, but you're paying that in advance with your contract fees. And,
And you pay per copy.
Yeah.
So there are always additional fees other than the lease
And-
amount per month.
I mean, police department needs a printer, they need a computer, they need a fax, and this machine does all of that. But a 4-man department, I mean, what do you need? And I'm just looking at this one particular item, and if you're looking at $2,000 a year for 4 to 5 years, it looks good in the beginning, but I think in the long run you may want to see if you can find another solution. But if this contract is binding until that year, you're sort of stuck with it, but in the future you may want to take a look to find something to save some money.
have the copiers fund, so that's been established. We put money into that.
I was just gonna say, I think maybe we should start, talk to the police department and see if we can start putting money into a fund so that if we can't break that contract, when that contract is up, we'll have money in that fund and we can go do something different that's not as expensive. Now, Keith, let me ask you, what about maintenance records on cars? Shouldn't there be a maintenance report that's filled out on the cars and what's been done to the cars, what needs to be done to the cars, so there's a schedule there?
Yes. I've seen it done different ways. Smaller departments, the officer who drives the car, or has the car sign them, they, fill out a basic maintenance request slip, and that starts the tracking process. And then either the sergeant or chief will schedule it for maintenance, so they know what's going on with their fleet. And then attached to that will be the receipts, what work was done. And then, so the copy of the receipt is stuck with that report, saved in a file in the department, and then the receipt or invoice goes to the treasurer to be paid. So that way, there's two people keeping track of the cost on the car. The administration of the department should know what's going on with the cars, should, staying abreast of what the complaints are. And that also goes to you're consistently having the same problem. Let's say I don't know, the steering keeps acting up, but you keep having the same problem over and over again. Is it something that potentially is a warranty issue? And you say, okay, wait a minute, this is a problem with the car's design, and then keep pushing that issue and get it back to the dealer that you're not putting the bill. And so, yeah, there should be, the oil changes are, scheduled per the recommendations of the manufacturer, the oil company. 3,000 mile oil changes are done.
Right.
5 to 10 now, depending.
I still do 3, but you're right.
Yeah. My cruisers, we go 5. But, so, yeah, there should be someone tracking that.
Mhm. So we know when the transmissions are being flushed and
Yeah.
that they are being flushed and not every 3 or 4 years.
And that's where, in the places I've been, we use one place that keeps track of those for us. Say, our records show that this transmission hasn't been flushed or 50,000 miles. The manufacturer recommends it be flushed at 50. Get it done. That's how we keep on top of it. It should be relatively easy to set up for a 3-fleet department.
Mhm. Do you have a maintenance kind of form that you have within your department?
We do it a little differently. As soon as any of the oil changes, basic service, they can take it right to stop and go on their way by. And when they do, those receipts come straight to my office, and Dana Shepherd, who is my fleet manager, gets a record of those. Anything above and beyond that, they send an email to Dana saying, this is the problem, that starts the tracking, and he'll schedule it for maintenance. Anything over, I think he's authorized up to $250, anything over that, he notifies me to say, estimates this, I've gone to 3 different places, or it's a dealer repair only, just so I'm aware of what's going on, but then he tracks it all. All our vehicles, we have through our intranet, I can go in and look at, where the mileage is and maintenance and that kind of stuff. So, but because I use one person as my fleet manager, he keeps track, he knows what work's been done, like done last time the tires were changed. So, like even this time of year, trying to get all the cars in to get winter tires put on, he called me up and said, hey, by the way, just to let you know, you're the last car that needs to get done. How come you haven't got any winter tires on yet? So we knew all the other cars had been done. So he does keep track of everything that's been done. So that's why I have one person keeping track of that.
Mm-hmm.
We use email sort of as our reporting system. This is the car, this is how many miles are on it, this is what's going on. And it works for us.
Okay.
So.
I think we'll maybe talk to Vermont League of Cities and Towns and see if they can come up with some examples of maintenance schedules Because I think that that needs to be addressed before we buy new cars.
The maintenance kit, I mean, really just follow the, manufacturer's recommendations. An in-house form is just one thing, on this day I noticed this, and then you just track what the maintenance has been. Doesn't be complicated. Always found simpler to use.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's really what we do with our own cars, but we keep track of it and know that it has the oil change or the transmission flush, and those are all important parts of keeping the car in good shape. Anything else?
I think that's it. Bottom line is, it's your maintenance of fuel that's really causing your increase in your budget. The good news is the price of gas went down this week. I don't think so that you really plan. I'd budget $4 a gallon over the next 12, 18 months.
You talked about that conference. There's only $4,000 here in travel and conference budget. If our police chief was to attend a few of the conferences a year, would that be enough money in that budget?
Yeah, like the 1 week one I'm talking about, $650 for the conference. That includes your first year membership in Leeds, which is law enforcement. I mean, you get updates and wherever other training. And then, of course, the travel expenses and overnight stay will probably run somewhere total about $1,100 for that 1 week conference.
Okay.
In the spring and May, there's the Combined Chiefs and Sheriffs Conference, usually held up at Lake Maury. It's a 2-day. It's a couple $100 plus travel. We do have a winter, like this, it's December 20th. We have a Combined Chiefs and Sheriffs meeting. It's in Middlebury 1 day. I think that's actually covered by dues. There may be a small charge for meals.
And all the chiefs are members of that, right?
That I'm aware of. They're encouraged to become members. There may be 1 or 2 chiefs out there that just haven't, they're relatively new, haven't signed up yet. But there's a few other conferences here and there, but 4,000 for conferences is pretty good.
Well, she's not the only one who'll go on conferences either. I mean, that's conference and training, so I want to make sure that there's enough money in that budget.
But, all those conferences count towards training hours for the chief.
Right.
Staff balance. Most of your other courses for your police department are offered at the academy. They're relatively inexpensive per day, even if you stay over and you pay the overnight fee and meals. 30, 40, $50 per class, sometimes even less.
Okay.
So, the biggest one is your out-of-state trainings, and occasionally there are trainings that just can't obtain anywhere else. So, I think 4,000, given that it hasn't really been used a lot in the last couple of years, maybe it's still a good place to start. But I would encourage all your officers to go to trainings wherever they can get them. Great retention tool.
I agree. I agree 100%. I'd love to see them. Obviously there's a limit to what we can afford, but knowledge is power. The more they know about their job, the better they can do their job.
And the more that they know that they're supporting going to those trainings, the longer they'll stay around. Because they'll get opportunities to go to trainings here that they may not get somewhere else.
Okay.
Should more than the chief go to that conference?
It's only open to chiefs unless you have the ability to implement or develop policies, and then you have to have a letter from the chief of the board saying that you have that authority. And if she does, like I said, when I meet with her on Monday, I'll see if she has the letter. But I'd recommend that. Those are the numbers. It is an increase, but you've added in the grant match. That money would only be spent if a grant came through. It just sort of encourages her or your chief to find those grants. Again, only if there's a match. So just and again, I think the biggest increase were maintenance and fuel. I don't see anything else.
Okay. Keith, thank you again very, very much for all you've done for the town. We really appreciate it.
Do I get a turkey?
We'll make sure you get a turkey.
Go quiet for a moment, didn't it?
Oh, no, we gotta give him a turkey. We will make sure you get a turkey.
See, when I got done with Bill's fault, they just couldn't take my sense of humor. I would probably end up donating it to the church, so. Again, if you need anything, always feel free to call.
Thank you.
Like I said, I'll be meeting Mary Beth on Monday morning. She sounds well rested, but she also sounds bored. She's ready to come back.
Well, that's always a good sign. That's a long haul to get better from something like that, so
Yeah.
she's lucky.
Unless you need me for something else. Again, thank Jeff for everything. Plus, it was kind of cool to be there because his cows were calving. I'm not a farmer, but it was really kind of neat to see the, the calves come out. The troopers didn't want to leave at the end of the day. They need more overtime. They're all watching. A bunch of mass kids who never seen a cow. Yeah, have a nice night.
Thank you. Hi, Martin. Thank you for coming. David? Martin, come join us, please.
Chair right here.
Did you get them all from, did you get them
I'll take it
from Mary Lynn?
Oh, do you want it? Because I haven't printed out, so.
Okay, take it away. Thank you for coming tonight.
No problem.
And apologize for canceling out on you Tuesday, but it just became apparent that everybody was falling apart, so Sandy had issues to deal with her family and needed to be with her family, and that's where she belonged, and Chris got sick on us, and thankfully she's on the road to recovery and will be back after a overnight stay in Dartmouth, but she scared us all. And Bobby had his own family issues to deal with, and it's just when things happen with your family, you need to be with your family. So
Yep.
I appreciate your understanding.
Town garage operations, I don't know, which one did you do first? That one even, that's PD.
My little,
I'll go back to my other one, that I scribbled on. Actually, did I change anything? As far as town garage operation, I believe it's all the same. I didn't do the salaries and stuff. Sally did that. I don't have that on mine, so. And after this, I was going to talk about getting a part-timer, because we didn't have one last year, because his business picked up. But somebody is in town, he is a mechanic, and is willing.
Okay. Do you want to talk about it now, or you want to wait till after?
It's up to you, we can.
We can do whatever you would like. This is your night.
It's Josh Carr. He has his own business.
Mm-hmm.
He figures he's gonna be slow this winter, so we were looking for anybody. He's got a Class A license, so. But to do it, we gotta go through and have all the drug testing and all that done.
Right. Now you want him for part-time?
They're on call, however you wanna say it,
Okay. What's he gonna be doing?
just plowing,
Just plowing?
unless something else comes up we need. Cause actually, Ian Deal has been helping us do trees and stuff and brush.
So that's what the part-time operator is.
Yep. Ian was helping us out until his family grew, and then he hasn't been back on Mondays.
Funny what a baby will do to you. You didn't realize he had a baby? You didn't know that?
No.
Well, he didn't.
Oh.
It's amazing.
And we can also hope for a winter like last year.
Yeah,
We'll have to.
that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would be.
I don't think the schema, although they still got their share of snow.
Certainly had a lot of ticks because of last year's winter.
And squirrels. The squirrels were horrible this year.
Squirrels have ticks on them too.
And as far as like fuel, I increased it last year, so, and it stayed the same this year, so I just left it.
Okay.
So we should be covered. Next one will be road equipment and repair. Everything has stayed the same, but we're gonna need tires for the grader. So that's gone up, but with the grader, there's two ways I can do it. We can either fund it all at once, or we can go down to, and it's not on this one, 8,500. What I could do is June, do 3, and the next budget time, budget the same, and I can do 3 in July. So when we use the grader, it'd have the matching tires. Try to, if that's something you want to do, or do you want to do it all at once?
Would you have money to do that in June?
No, because I didn't increase it at all. This would be
The following.
the following June, then with a new budget, if we went 8,500 for that June and 8,500 for the actual July, I could do it that way.
So you have to wait till a year from June
Yeah,
to do that.
that's why, I mean, they're getting down, we can make it, I'm just planning ahead.
So they're not completely wore out yet.
No,
And it would be all right to do that.
yep. We can split it in half.
So you'd still be going almost a year and a half on the tires you have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, if we have a really heavy winter, will that make a difference on the tires?
No, we get change for that, as long as we don't cut any or anything. So,
Okay.
so depending what you guys want to do, if you want to go 8.5 or the 14.5. If we go 8.5, we'll do it for 2 years.
Okay.
And that's with the 2,500 in there, that's normally in there.
Right.
It sounds like a smart idea to me to spread it out.
Over 2 years, yeah.
Loader, we really can't do it, because if we need it, you can't have. I'll try to think of ways of doing it, and there ain't.
So you have the same thing with the loader?
No, we can't, because,
Well, I mean, you have, that's tires also?
yep, that's all it is.
Mhm.
Grader tires are 2,000 a piece, and loader tires are 22 a piece.
Wow. I'll never complain when I have to buy new radials.
Only one truck tire costs what all 4 of your tires
Yeah.
cost.
So I said I'll never complain. More than all 4 of my tires cost.
And that takes, of course, we had extra money for the snow plows and sanders. We didn't have that much of a winter last year, so.
Hopefully we won't again this winter.
And highway maintenance is actually level funded. The only thing I did, and we're gonna have to look into this more, is on the RSMS, the culvert inventory and the roads. I went down 200 to bring up stormwater, because every year the stormwater is gonna be going up. The state wants more money. Now we get 2 of them. But that should cover us for the permits. we just went through, I will overspend it this year because we just went through on Central Park, because we had to have the engineering, which we did the year before for Fox Hill.
Mhm.
It's like $1,000. And that's every 3 years, but once we get on this cycle and have everything figured, I can add it in. Then the next year we can take it out, then when we gotta add it, we can.
Now, that was all done because the permits weren't done properly to begin with, right? And then A&R never caught up with it.
A&R plus they became orphans or whatever. And it would have been best if people had forgotten about it. But because people mentioned it, then, oh, okay, well, you stepped up to the plate, so this is what it's gonna be, the cost.
Well, it happened statewide, it wasn't just
Oh, yeah,
in
it
Vernon,
was
it happened
everywhere.
all over the state. That's how the legislature got involved in it.
Yep. And now that everybody is, if it stayed north, and from what I understand, it would have just been a set amount. It seems people, well, we got one,
Mhm.
we're on the one that varies, that will be going up. So, all I can tell you. Just-
Well, if A&R hadn't screwed up to begin with,
We wouldn't be here.
better record keeping, it wouldn't happen to begin with. So that's why the state was trying to reward the towns, supposedly. And now they're obviously seeing it as a funding source, it sounds like.
Yep. Trying to remember, I can't remember what I did last year. It was 320 for Fox Hill, and we just did 240 for Central Park. And I know I got 900 and something coming from the engineering, and right now there's 3760 in there.
That's a shame. That's really a
That's
shame
just per
because
permits.
that was A&R's screw up. That's terrible. Can't fight the state though, can you?
Nope.
Maybe it's time we get together with some of the towns that are dealing with this and get the legislators involved and see if we can't get that language changed.
Or just get a set price, something.
Yeah, something, so that I mean, it's the legislature that's screwing around with it anyway and increasing the prices anyhow, because they need revenue.
The only thing, but the more I got thinking about it, that fund you guys started last year, but that was
The emergency fund.
emergency fund. We always
It's not
got,
really a fund.
we got
I
two-
call everything a fund. I'm so sorry, Sally gets nervous when we start saying fund.
Is it worth adding guardrails, or just leave it, and if I don't use it, just put the 2,000? I mean, some of it's little stuff, some of it's big stuff. It's only $2,000 I've kept in there. Last year, we used none of it. Now I just punish myself. First snowstorm, we'll lose guardrail. It'll cost me $8,000. You know, it's one of those things.
I think you should leave it in. What do you think, Patrick?
Just leave it.
Okay. Other than that, that's
David, you did such a good budget. You know, we don't have to look at your budget with a magnifying glass because you're so honest when you come in here. We know exactly what you're spending money on. I don't have a problem with leaving $2,000 in there because I know that if you don't use it, you're not going to squander it for something else. So, I have no problem with that.
all right.
Is salt, that's sort of what you project for a normal winter?
That's on 600 tons. Yep.
Because it was 30 the year before there, so is that price gone up, or
They,
needing to buy
the
more?
previous board had cut it down to 30.
Uh-huh. And then you had a good winter.
So we made it good. It couldn't happen again, I don't think.
Yeah, okay.
And that's, look at the price. That's based, we're roughly paying 65 per ton, 62.71. So that's on 65. So we got a little bit of margin if it goes up come next September.
No, is that what you use in a normal winter?
We've cut back, we've actually cut off 200 tons.
So that would be a normal couple snowstorms.
Yep. If we have ice storms, we're all set, so.
Okay. Well, certainly can't complain about the roads around here, David, in a snowstorm. I have said all over the state, drive in Vernon when it's snowing, you can go on any road there is, just don't cross the town lines.
See, a couple of years ago is when we really got it, is when the salt and paving all went up and it jumped from 32 right up to 50.
Yeah.
That big jump, when it took that, everybody was, but now everything's staying about the same, so we can kind of budget.
Okay. So if we really need to go looking for some dollars, you've already given us hints. Anything else, David?
Not unless there's anything on the capital plan?
Well, I was going to ask about
Anything
that.
else?
Where are we with, the one that's showing, I just have last year's thing here, was this 2000 dump truck diesel, was that replaced, or is that still pending?
Nope. The cabin chassis in, and actually tomorrow we're going up and getting it, so it'll be the dump body and just the greaser.
All right,
But it'll be back here tomorrow. Next week it's going to Springfield for the greaser to put on.
okay. So then you have nothing down the pike until the 2016 year,
Or whenever the pickup dies.
okay.
It's still going, and we're not in no hurry to,
Oh, yeah, the pickup's sitting there too.
Yep.
But you have 35,000 all accrued, ready to go for that.
Yep.
So that'll happen when it happens. Okay. And these other numbers are still good in terms of the projected costs and stuff?
you're on last year's.
I'm looking at this one.
There was just a couple of them that went up. Marilyn didn't give you guys your copies? I gave her 4.
Oh, is that, sorry, is that in this too?
No, it's not in this package, I don't think.
I wish I brought the other copy. Last year. I know the mowing tractor was 1, but that ain't until 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the next dump truck, because this one was actually over. So I think the next dump truck, we just brought it up a little bit.
Okay. So, and you said you sent those to Marilyn?
Marilyn, yep.
Okay, then we're good.
Yep, in fact, she was in last week talking about the years and stuff. So, she came into the garage and we went through all the equipment and everything.
The only other thing that we ask ourselves in finance is, you know, obviously you got vehicles that you have on a rotation, and you have a roof way out there somewhere.
Yep, 2021.
But meanwhile, it costs $15,000 in fuel oil to heat that place. And we were just wondering if it makes any sense to put on the capital budget some sort of better insulation for the garage and cut down on the heating cost.
You probably could on the walls, but then you're gonna have to move all the electrical.
Can you do anything on the outside?
We can find out if they could.
You know, they do a lot with just foam insulation with stucco. You put up some lath, you
Yep.
put it up there, and it's a pretty tight envelope for a building.
As far as the roof, that's set so it heats, so it keeps the snow load down on that garage, so the insulation is actually on the outside, but just underneath the membrane.
Mm-hmm. But there's insulation.
But there is insulation. I don't know if now, when we go, because that was done 91, 92, Dick was here. If now they got some different type of insulation, so when we do the roof,
Well, at least it has insulation, but the walls don't have much of anything at all.
Nope.
So, you know, I think that would be something to research and get on this schedule. I mean, if it seems to make sense in
Sure
terms
does.
of the cost return, you know, if it pays for itself in 5 years or 8 years or something like that, then
Then like
that would be worth it.
this time of year, one thing we've done is when you go out, even if it's just a loader, you use half the day, don't come back in until it's time to go home. So when you open them doors, furnace is only coming on that one initial
Yeah.
shot.
So there's operational things.
Yep.
That makes
It's
sense.
just trying to, if you're gonna lose heat, do it all at once and just let it come on and run, and then it's back. When Marilyn was in, it was actually the next day, over where the senior van is, and the door that we come in. There's 2 lights now on a sensor, so when Cookie comes in at night, instead of leaving that lights on half the garage,
Mhm.
2 lights come on. When the garage door is up halfway, the sensor actually picks it up. And she said it worked good because she's already used it. And the one door we use, we only got to go in and grab something. There's a sensor there, it's only 12 minutes, then the light's off.
And is there setbacks on the thermostat for nights, weekends? Could there be?
With that new fire alarm system, I don't know how far we can go because it's got to stay at 50. And we are only running it roughly at 60 now.
Oh, okay.
It's just, in fact, Laura complains if she stops in. It's like a barn. We're kind of used to it. Start this time of year, you get used to the cold, it's fine all winter. So.
Well, you know, just the insulation question, I think, is worth looking at.
Yeah, it's worth looking into. Maybe I can try to get hold of Mike Renault, see if there's anything he knows of. Come up with some ideas. We only got the 2 windows on the north side, so it ain't gonna be that hard to do something if we can,
Mhm.
so. Alright, I'll see what I can find out.
Does anybody have any other questions?
How old is the furnace in there?
The big one, I'm trying to think. Must have been close to 98 when we got the pickup, the real big one up overhead. And the other ones, I've been there 23 years and they've never been changed, the other 2.
That could be something to
Maybe
look
serviced.
into.
I think we should have Efficiency Vermont come in and do an audit of this building and
Yep.
that building and, you know, find out what kind of grant money we could apply for to help us, because I mean, our energy costs are right up there with the telephone cost. It's crazy. If we could cut those 2 in half.
I have a flyer on the efficiency one upstairs.
I know the fire department, they cut theirs way down by insulating and doing stuff.
Our building, they came in and they had Efficiency Vermont come in and they changed all the overhead lights. And our electric bill went from about $260 a month down to $93. And all they did was change the lights. But the lights that they had in that building were from the 70s.
Mhm.
Well, the ones that we just, because we actually put up, we swapped the old ones out with the big bulbs.
Mhm.
Now we got those little tiny bulbs. And there's more light coming off them than off those big ones.
Yeah.
It's hard
It's
to,
juicy. But
unless they
really,
have it.
yeah, I think probably the right way to do it is, as you say, is Efficiency Vermont, because they'll tell you if they have programs to
Mhm.
subsidize any of this stuff.
Maybe we can, if you put that in my box tomorrow, tomorrow's Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
This is a tough week because it's such a short week, but I'll try to call tomorrow. If not, I'll call by early next week. See if we can have them come in and do an audit of this building and an audit of the maintenance building. Because, you know, like I said, if you can cut those energy costs in half at this point and get some grant money in the process to help us do it, it'd be well worth it.
I know we had to take my truck over to New York, back to the dealer, and on the way back, we stopped Wilmington's new garage. Their propane heater's no bigger than that cabinet over there. It's just, that's what's heating this.
Yeah.
Yeah, put actual insulation in the walls and
Well, they get to
the
heat
heat
the
stays
floor.
in, yeah.
Yeah, the radiant heating,
So
yeah.
that saved them a lot, but it's like that,
Yeah.
so.
I think Martin has an interesting point there, though. If we could somehow insulate that building, and Efficiency Vermont would know all the newest techniques for doing buildings like that, because that's what they
Yep.
do. We'll call them in and see if we can get an audit. It might take a year to get it done, but, you know, I mean, not just an audit, but to know exactly where we're at and what we need might take a while. So-
Roughly, last year at this time until now, it was just over 3,600 gallons heating oil. Because they delivered today. I called them.
Do they come in and service them every year?
Every
Change
spring.
the filter?
Yep. So,
Yeah, that's a pile.
yeah, but for the size of that building, you open the doors, then the heaters come on. It is, but yeah. But if you can save more, so you're not using as much fuel, like through the furnaces or whatever. You know, I'm trying to remember, I wanna say that big one's 8 gallons an hour when it runs on, cause it's got low and high. So that's why, yeah, the main one, that's why we pull the equipment out and wait till the end of the day and you pull it back in.
That's amazing.
So, and that was new, like I said, I wanna say 98.
I remember it, but, so it's gotta be close to that.
I can remember it was in a snowstorm. When they shut the heat off and swapped it out.
Yeah, so this budget is really for the winter after this winter.
Right.
So
Right.
if you could get something done over the summer, then it impacts this budget
Absolutely.
on anything, whether it's anything else that efficiency we might come up with, this building, that building.
It's definitely worth having them come in and do the audit, see where we can go.
Yep. Maybe there's some kind of new molding around the doors we can use, like on the big doors. Because I know a lot of it's, you can feel cold air around there, but I don't know.
Those doors they're insulated, right?
Yep. There's only one downstairs that we haven't changed that's still wood, and it's got a walk-in door, and that door is almost double all the other ones. But that's something, if something doesn't go wrong, maybe this spring, just spend the money out of the operating budget and just do it. I've done that, that's how I did the other one, slowly but surely, instead of X amount right up front. So, the only other thing, and I just dawned on me, you don't have this on here. Town road upgrade. It's not mine at the bottom, you didn't see it? 100,000 put in, I didn't see on any of these. In, parking lot fund, 50. Oh, that's okay, I just happened to catch it at one of my eyes.
Town road upgrade and parking lot.
Parking fund,
Yep.
parking lot.
100,000 and 50,000.
What were they last year?
Parking lot, I believe, was 50.
Town road.
Town
50 and
road was
80.
80.
Yeah.
What roads you have?
We gotta do something again with Franklin Road. That's been since 93. Hard to believe, ain't it?
It's just amazing. You know, everything always seems like yesterday, you know? Then you say 93, it's like,
It was yesterday.
geez, I remember them coming into town meeting complaining because the road hadn't been paved and they're taxpayers too, and wow. I think it was actually at town meeting that they get the money added to the budget, wasn't it?
To do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Holy cow.
They did it in 93. Yes, it was. That was a process I never want to go through again.
But it's done right.
Right down to, you're not coming on my property, and
Yeah.
I got the Yep, you're right. I can go home right now.
Thanks, David.
So,
Thank you very much. Done a great job.
is
You always do a
there
great job,
anything
Mark.
else, Martin?
No, thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, David.
Yep.
Thanks, David.
Have a good one.
You too. Do I get the paperwork to Josh and Sally? Give to Josh, fill out? Never did finish that.
Yeah, we never did discuss it.
He's a good man.
I
He's
think
a
he
great
needs the
man.
help, and he should get help he wants.
You got it.
Okay.
Just get the paperwork. I just didn't want to say yes until they said, you
Yep.
know, I mean, I'm only me.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You need a motion of any type. Do you need a motion of any type for that? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
allow him to hire help.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow David to hire part-time help. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
All right.
He said 20 hours, right?
It's whatever they need, and it's not long-term, so it's never over.
Okay.
Is it carried? Motion carried?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, unfinished business, we can do a little bit of work on budgets, if you would like. Or we could adjourn. What's your pleasure?
We can work on the budgets, I don't
Okay.
care.
Everybody kind of looks like they're,
Sally was packing up the way.
Well, we could just do it a little while, that's better than none.
yeah, I agree, and I mean, we're, you know, the whole goal of starting this early was to try to get done early. I do think that it is harder to do budget meetings at select board meetings, because you're kind of going from one to the other. I like doing just the budgets, and I think I'd like to see if we could schedule, I mean, however you want to do it, try to keep our select board meeting for December 3rd to a minimum and do budgets that night. It gets a little harder as we get closer to the holiday season to be out I mean, we've got other meetings we have to attend too, so 2 meetings a week for budgets get a little difficult. That's why I wanted to start early.
You also have that paper from Carol and Bill Johnson
Yes.
that we need to.
They're gonna,
Tax Department?
thank you. Property and
PVR.
PVR, that's property valuation and review, I couldn't come up with that, is going to be having a meeting. There are other towns that TransCanada is fighting their taxes on. And so PVR wants to have a meeting of the other towns, and our town's people will be there. Phyllis wants to know if there's anybody in the select board who wants to attend it. The meeting is on November 30th at 10 o'clock. 10 to noon at White River Junction in the Hartford Municipal Building. I can't make it. So I don't know if it's up to you guys. December 30th is a Friday?
It's
I mean,
November
November 30th is a Friday? Yes.
Yeah.
So, but I already have another meeting I have to attend. I have a board meeting that day, so. If you can make it, we can ask Jeff and Chris. I think Chris is tough because she's gonna have to really spend some time recuperating. And she's feeling much better and doing much better, but I don't wanna depend on her to have to do stuff like this right now. She needs time to really get back on her feet strong. So, think about it. If you think you can make it, let Phyllis know. Okay? And Sally, you want to do a little bit of discussing of this retirement stuff?
Sure.
Might as well get to that before we go back to budgets, because that's going to need to be part of it, too.
I don't think I brought mine with me, because I wasn't expecting to do it. But the ones I took a look at them, and we had talked about the purchasing of annuities and then going to VEMR's, and to me that one seems out of the ballpark, because we would have to pay $526,000 just to fund the rest of what we have, and then pay, I don't even know what to get into VEMR's. I did contact Tracy and Eric after I got this and said, well, what would be any idea ballpark for VEMR's? And they said, not really. Can't really give us one until we were to move into that direction. So I don't know what that would be, but I thought that was kind of outrageous. So my idea was option 2, I believe, or option 5. Option 5 is just paying, and that's $394,000. And I'm also thinking of using money perhaps from the Emergency Capital Reserve Fund.
395?
The 394,054 would be the amount. That would bring it to 100% funding, reducing the cost associated with paying down unfunded liabilities. And then I would ask them from that point on, would there be a contribution we'd want to make every year after that, just to keep us in compliance? And should we then look at changing the 1% to 0.5? I hate to do that, but it's an option, so it's got to be put out there to lessen, what we're going to be paying out. It's not a lot for everybody at 1%, but when you of course, for a town paying for it, it becomes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But for the individual receiving it, it's not something that's going to keep them comfortable in retirement. They're going to have some other vehicle or work or something,
Mm-hmm.
of course. Option 1, we can go over them all. Option 1 was a 10-year period of $110,000, so that's $1 million in a 10-year period. And we can make that 15 years, we can make it 20 years, but we're just going to be paying more and more. It's like having a mortgage. When you take your mortgage out, you're paying 3 times the price of your house, and you
Mm-hmm.
think that, that's an asset. But so I think that one is really high. I mean, I don't see the reason to do that if we can pay $394 and get it done with. Option 2 speaks to doing it faster by contributing $130,000 per year. It doesn't really say. I'm trying to read it here.
So by
through
2018.
Yeah. So, but it's still more than the 394.
What is 394? What does that do to the property tax rate, though?
Well, right now, I would say a penny raises about $64,000. So it would go up quite a bit. So that's why I would say, we could consider this. We've got money. And do we want to ask the taxpayer to do it in the way that we would have to raise it? Or do we want to say, you know, this has come to light? You know, I just want to make it clear too to the taxpayer that it's nothing that the town has done that, you know, we shouldn't have done or anything like that. As Tracy said, all towns are getting into this because 2008, the bottom just fell through
Right.
and we were overfunded. So we were never in that position. You know, I'm sad in going forward that we weren't told you should be funding it, you know, put something in. I think we should always put something in.
Mhm.
And that was something we weren't doing. So in that end, it wasn't the greatest, but we've learned from that.
So you have this money in the,
Well, in the emergency capital reserve, we put all of the balance of our water and sewer money. I mean,
right.
I can't, I shut my
That's right, that's
computer off,
right,
so
that's,
can't
I
go on.
remember it.
But there's over $1 million in there,
So rather than raising that kind of taxes for the taxpayer, just take the money, that would have to
And
be
that
an
would be
article.
an article, you know, does the taxpayer want to do that? Is it considered an emergency? Sort of, because we're not, these people aren't funded.
It is an emergency because you're going to start being penalized for not funding your
Yeah.
retirement
Yeah.
funds right.
And
That's
it's just gonna get
really
worse.
that's a really dangerous financial position for a town to be. That's how towns go bankrupt.
The interest alone would pay this back in not that
Right.
many years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we can get some higher interest, right now, everything's pretty dismal, so
Yeah.
that part's difficult too, without, you know, changing our investment policy, which our investment policy is very tight, you know, and I believe that, you know, we're the caretakers of public funds and we do need to be very, very conservative.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know, in that sense. So we don't make a ton of money on our investments, but we don't lose very much either. So that's a good place to be right now. Where people
Mhm.
are, everything's still
For the
volatile.
next 4
as we
years,
see.
anyway.
So, I mean, that to me would be, I'd rather pay the least amount possible and get it done. But that's just my view.
No, I agree.
And,
I just can't see raising that kind of money on the taxpayer. That just is crazy when we've got money
And
sitting there.
asking
That's
every year.
Financially, that's a
you know.
smart decision, is to just do that.
Mhm, 'cause
I
like you
think it is, but, you know, I think it's also wise to call Tracy and Eric and, you know, really talk to them about what they think too. I mean, does that make sense? I might not be seeing something that they would know, and I don't, you know, so as far as that goes,
Well, we can do a phone meeting with them. They don't have to come all the way down here.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If we could, and if it could, I was hoping for a date that I can, a couple dates that I could throw out, and probably the first.
Let's throw out the 3rd and the
then-
17th.
Yeah, and see if, okay, I will do that, because that's what I was hoping for, and then we can get this done
Right.
behind us and get moving on
No,
to other.
no, I would like for the 17th for us to just kind of have a little bit of a, I mean, I don't want to say a party, but just kind of a, calm down. You know, just kind of a little, it's Christmas, this is the last time we're going to be together is Christmas, and just, you know, have a little bit of relaxing, can't have a drink, but maybe a soda or something together. I'll bring in I'll bring in a little dessert or something, except for Bobby, because you know he's not going to make anything, so he can bring it.
I bet you Bobby could be something.
You guys would be surprised at what I could
bet
do.
you- I believe it.
I'd rather be surprised what you would do. But you know, Dick Alexander would say that this money that's sitting there was raised by the cash cow and the goose with the golden egg. We're still paying a lot of the taxes, so it wouldn't cost the taxpayers.
Right. That's what I'm thinking at this point. You know, the budget's gonna be up.
Budget's going to be out. There's
and,
just,
you know, so what's the, and it's tough to sell it right now. I think people think, why should we take care of our employees in that way? But, you know, towns do that. We do have.
you have no choice. It's already been done.
Yeah.
So all we
Long
have is
time
the
ago.
choice to continue funding it. You can't take away a retirement that's already been given. There's nothing you can do about it. So,
And then going forward is, I guess the issue would be to look at that 1% and tweaking that if we think that's what we should do for new people coming on.
mhm. What do you think, guys?
put it in as an article?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
All right, so I will contact Tracy and Eric and have them in on it. And in the meantime, yeah, take a really good look and see what you think.
Yeah, I'd like to, because Jeff and
Jeff will wanna weigh
Chris
in.
aren't here,
Yeah, right.
they definitely want to weigh in. And I also would like us to take some time and kind of look over the budget. You know, compare this with the actuals. When we come back on the 3rd, we'll tear through this budget, and we're going to have to make cuts. There's no doubt about it, we're going to have to make cuts.
We've got salaries to look at too. We're going to have to go over that. We still haven't done seniors.
It didn't work out. So we're going to have to make that decision there.
Oh.
We're going to have that conversation.
It was rough.
You know, we just can't be everything for everybody anymore. Taxpayers can't afford it. So, you know, we'll have to think about what a fair increase is.
And they'll have to make adjustments to PD when, if there's changes there, so there's still quite a bit left as far as, you know, bottom line and what it really is.
And we have to have this budget done by when?
I think third week of January is the deadline, something like that.
So as early as we started, we're still starting to get under the gun. It's got to get done.
Much further ahead than normal.
Oh, we are, I know we are.
But yeah, everybody's coming.
I was here once when we didn't start until the middle of January.
That just puts so much pressure on everybody, though. That just is,
It isn't done right.
you know, this way, hopefully, we'll show up at town meeting, we'll understand what the budget means. And we'll have some time to really think about it and make responsible decisions, not just hurry up and get it through.
And find areas where maybe department heads can say, you know, maybe
Yeah, I don't know if maybe it would be better if we broke down and each took a department and sat with that department in head and said, okay, where's the fluff and how do we save money? That might not be a bad idea for us to do that now. What do you think?
I like the straightforward, just bring them in, ask them to make certain percentage of a cut, where you're going to cut it. Where do you want to cut it?
So do we send a message to all the department heads now and say, okay, now we want a 5% cut?
That's what I would do, or that's what I would like to do.
Well, a lot of them have already worked hard at cutting it, so then if you say another 5%, it's like, why do we bother to cut? We should put it up. I think just having them come in and say, is there-
Work with us.
is there
Yeah.
any place? Because we're
But you
really
can see,
struggling to
you know,
do our, you know,
and validate them for all the work they've done, so, I mean,
yeah.
you know, they did a lot of work. I don't think you're gonna find a lot of fluff there. But, you know, validate them for what he's done. Because I remember how they felt last year when they told, you know, they worked hard on a budget, now cut it again. And then the select board budget went up.
So, yeah, but the select board budget went up because we put that emergency line item in our
Yeah, but I
budget.
mean, that's,
And that was to help them so that they weren't nervous about bringing their budgets down to bare bones and then having an emergency happen that they couldn't find the money for. So that was to give them a comfort zone, but yet some control so that the money was, you know, carefully spent. So what do you think would be easier? Just each one of us go to a department head, or calling them all back in?
Yeah, you don't have
It's a
to-
lot, it's a lot of people to call back in. I don't know if we have the time to do it that way. You know, I agree, and I tried to make sure that budget time was done in a respectful way, so people felt that they were being listened to, that their problems were being considered and everything. But, you know, we could start budgets in May and still not have enough time.
The ones that level funded, we wouldn't have to bring in necessarily. The ones that went up are the ones that we'll have to look at.
and then again, you've got Mike Coughlin, whose budget has been about the same since 1998.
No, his actually went down because the historian stuff came out of his
Right.
budget and went into theirs. So his budget actually went down.
His budget, when he took over as the maintenance, went down, and it's
Yeah.
still I don't think it's as high now as it was when he first took over.
No, but he's been struggling.
He's done really well at keeping that budget as low as he could keep
He's
it.
one person I really don't think has much fluff. Do you?
No.
He doesn't, and I've seen some other select boards kind of pick on him a little. I don't know why, but I think that he's liking it that we haven't done that.
I think he likes it that we're supporting him and trying to fix this infrastructure because this building will not repair itself.
Yeah, I think he's felt limited over
Yeah.
the past few years with having to keep it.
Mhm.
And then he's like, well, these things are gonna go, but I'm not really allowed to. And so I really think that's where his mindset has been.
Yeah, you can't tell them to level fund and then complain because something's
That's
not done on the
right. Why aren't
building
we
because
doing
there's,
the-
the windows haven't been replaced and stuff. Well, how can you replace the windows on a level funded budget?
Right.
That's right.
Just can't do that. How much money have we used out of our emergency repair replacement fund?
$839.81.
I knew you'd know that number.
It's only because there's one thing, there's more than that, I can't remember.
Was it 60?
It was, for what?
800 and,
$839.81.
was it 800 also?
That hasn't come, I haven't gotten the bill yet.
That's good. She
But it
tells me
will
and I
be,
write
yeah.
down the wrong number and she still knows how much it
So it will
was.
be 16.
Yeah, it will be 16. We haven't, you guys authorized an $800 bill that we haven't gotten yet. So, right now, yeah, so not much at all.
Put Chris's flowers on my credit card, so
Okay, so make
Be
sure.
getting that.
Okay.
they'll come out of fun too.
They'll come out of contribution. Emergency. Well, so, I guess anything could be part of that, though.
You know, you look at the select board's budget, and really the only thing we went up on is legal services, but because of this
We need
Trans
to.
Canada thing, we need to.
And this joint meeting may help us on that.
It might, and maybe by the time that's over, we can take some of the money out of this budget, but okay, so how do you want to do it, you guys? I want to bring in, Triple T.
Oh, yeah,
Ed.
you talked
No,
about that.
not Ed.
Norman.
Norman. That's close to Ed.
I don't think he even has the same letters in it. She's tired.
Hey, my kids are it's a good day in my house when I've called out my kids by the right name, so. But I think maybe we should call him in.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's been in before,
Mhm.
but
It's been a while, though.
it's been a while, and I think we're gonna have to start talking about recycling in this town. You wanna save some money, that's how we're gonna do it. You're not gonna save money by driving around town and seeing, some people have a mountain full of stuff in front of their house, and, we all do spring and fall cleaning, but not on a weekly basis.
Some of the things
There's
up
some
there are
people, I swear,
incredible.
they have to go to their neighbors and get garbage, because there's no way they have that much garbage on their own. So, I think it's time to have that discussion. Maybe we need to have that as an article at town meeting and leave it up to the taxpayer. You want your taxes to come down, these are the things that we have to do.
Well, I like that idea. I've always been a proponent of that because I felt that if we do need to cut, then everyone should feel it, not just a particular faction as employees or whatever. It should be the town and the responsibility of all of us as taxpayers to help.
And
Well-
that's one of the things that hits everybody.
That year that,
Makes trash.
Yeah.
the year that we cut, what was it, 100,000 out of the total budget? We took a lot of it by Mike Quartermash and his push to recycle.
Well, that's when you start doing the
Roll-offs.
roll-offs, which at one time, God, remember roll-offs?
yes.
Remember roll-offs? That was like party time in Vernon. We were having roll-offs. You saw everybody you knew there.
Sandy had to do all the tickets.
But, yeah, that brought back memories. But, you know, that's how we cut a lot of money out of that budget, was to take off roll-offs. And then we've come to find out, when you have to go to the dump, it actually costs you less than it started, because we had to keep upping the price of the tickets for roll-off.
I know, I was
So,
like, you can go cheaper.
You bring one chair and you pay $25 for your roll-off ticket. If you just bring it to the dump, it's $5. I was like, wait a minute now.
You miss out on all the camaraderie.
That's true. That was worth $20.
You know, Collegedale, Tennessee, what they did is they gave everybody
2 trash bags.
a barrel, not a bag, a barrel. And that's the only thing that they would pick up. They wouldn't pick up a Walmart barrel, they would only pick up these blue barrels they have right in there.
A lot of towns have gone to buy the trash bag at the town office, which I'm sure you would love.
I don't mind any
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The townspeople would vote on this in March, huh, Sandy? But you go to the town office and you buy your 2 bags, and then if you want more, you can buy more, but you're buying them.
Right.
You know, maybe we need to talk about a certain amount can go out, and after that, you have to buy your bags.
I think that's how they did it. Instead of bags, they furnished the container.
Mhm.
I would like that better.
I would too,
Every resident gets one.
Especially living where we live,
yeah.
but boy, that could be expensive.
It's a one-time, pretty much it's a one-time expense.
It's expensive doing what we're doing now.
Yeah, and they
You're right.
figured it saved
We got to
them.
do something.
Yeah.
It paid for itself very, very quickly.
I bought my trash cans in 1990, and I still have them.
I swear, every spring that I'm getting new barrels, and it's just, you got to throw the old ones in the dump, and I don't want to have to do that. They're pretty nasty, though. My power washer just doesn't cut it anymore. All right, so we'll ask him. Could we put on our notes for next?
Bring in Triple T regarding trash.
Yep. You are just so quick.
And Norman, I didn't catch Norman.
Mallory.
Mallory.
You didn't catch it because I was stumbling over his name to begin with.
I don't know.
I don't know, it's Mallory.
Stop laughing at me, Bob.
Our next meeting, December 3rd, is going to be at 5:30. It's going to be a union meeting.
30.
There was one other thing that I already knew that I wanted to put on next agenda. I think those notes are at my office.
We're going to give the People's United the option for the 3rd or the 17th. I have that down here. Or at the December 3rd meeting, are you going to do anything with the end of useful life draft document that Keith was talking about? That he gave for the Finance Committee?
That is going to be up to the Finance Committee because they're going to work on it first. I'm just
Okay.
hoping, I just would like to have it for a town meeting. So we finally go into the future with a definition as to what end of useful life is. I think we're going to have to meet with the Finance Committee because they're going to have to do their proposal for the capital plan. But I don't think we'll do that till like January, right?
Yeah, probably. End of December, beginning of January, because you have to have, does that have to be approved by the, how does that work, Sandy?
If you're changing the guidelines, that has to
Yeah,
be
approved.
an article,
Yeah.
that has to be voted at town meeting. And how often do they have to be voted? Is it 5 years? I can't remember, I have a cheat sheet upstairs.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, one of them.
But you're saying-
You have that, and then you have a museum every so many years, the chapel.
Yeah, I think we just did them 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I think we did just do them 2
I
years
think-
ago.
Three
You're
was like
right.
yesterday, so.
I know. Can you keep that question?
I'll
I
try.
might forget if I do.
Well, December, we only have the 3rd and the 17th.
So
Yeah.
you're saying December 17th?
I want to try to keep that down a little bit because that'll be our before the holidays meeting.
Oh, you also need to, sorry, fire boiler bid award for December 3rd.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any bids, so we'll have
Right,
to
Todd
put that.
asked me about that today.
Oh,
They're ready, so.
where are they?
Well, that's what he said, they were ready.
Because I got a call from my boss saying that they were supposed to come to me, and Sally was supposed to get an email
I'll ask
from the
him.
people bidding. I didn't get any bids in the mail in my name at the town office, nothing in my own personal, but it's
Right.
supposed to come here at the town office, and Sally didn't get any emails.
I don't have any actual bids. I told him that if he wanted to, he could come to the meeting tonight and ask during public participation to have it added to the agenda, but he would need to bring copies of those bids with him, or we could put it on the agenda for possibly for the next meeting, but again, I would need copies of those bids so I can make copies for the board to review.
Okay, Mike's under the impression that nobody put a bid in, which I found kind of, so maybe Todd has the bids.
He must have the bids.
Maybe they didn't come in
Maybe
my
he doesn't
name.
understand. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And it would be nice to know if I'm getting bids by email.
I know, I know.
How am I gonna recognize a company or something?
We have to do something because, bids aren't supposed to be opened up.
They're not supposed to, so if you're doing it via email, how is that
Well,
possible?
plus, it wasn't the bid that they were supposed to send email, it was just information. But she didn't get anything and I didn't get any bids. So obviously, if they're going the way Mike Ball said, nobody bid.
Right,
And I
usually you put
can't.
out the RFP and then you have the date set for the bids to arrive to a town office, and they remain sealed, and then they're opened up in a public,
The board.
public meeting.
The board's supposed to approve them before they go to bid.
I don't know if the finance committee approved it or not, and I don't know.
The boiler, are you talking about the
Yeah,
boilers?
did the finance committee approve the bids?
They approved the RFP,
You know what, now that she says that, I remember.
yes, and it
Marilyn
came, and it
telling me
came,
that.
and it was here, you did talk about it here,
Yeah.
at the
I
meeting.
don't think we took an official vote, but she did talk about it. But I wonder if, I'll call Todd tomorrow and see if he has the bids, but yes, let's put it in the notes to put it on the agenda, and if nobody's bid, then we'll go to step B, whatever that is. Anything else?
I'd like to find out about what Sheriff Clark said about they're not really a lease, but it's like a loan for a cruiser with a $1 buyout at the end. What the interest rate is for that, and compare it to what the interest rate that we're getting for the funds. It may be cheaper still to go, or not cheaper, but easier to do that, say for a 4-year period, and then buy the thing for $1 at the end, and maybe we could get them into a rotation that way, so that these cars aren't, once we figure out what the end of useful life is. And then I had another thought about the end of useful life. It could be, we could say that it would either be X amount of miles or X amount of years.
Well, that's what they say now.
I never really saw any mileage. The only thing I ever saw was years.
Mileage used to be less.
It used to be about 100,000.
But that was a long time ago. The cars changed.
I have that thing, I would like you to look at this for me if you wouldn't mind. I have the paper that Keith gave me on Gillette, Wisconsin, and how they defined it. It's pretty useful. I'll get it, drop it off to Sandy, if you can stop. I think that's probably easier for you to stop and pick it up here, if you wouldn't mind. And then you can look at it. I also would like your suggestion on a maintenance schedule, because I just really think that's an important piece of this. Because people come and go, and things change, and that's the kind of stuff that gets lost in the cracks. But it's a very important thing to keep going, because, the townspeople own these cars.
If you look
So-
at Cookie Allen's timesheets, she has the maintenance and scales stapled to it.
Well, Mary Beth told me that she had, up until recently, like a log that they were keeping, and then she allowed them to not do it, just say maybe this summer, they stopped, and she told me that, this was before she went out on her leave, that they were going to start doing that again. And that's the first step, is to keep a log so that it's just like a trucker
But to
keeping a
input
log
it and
book.
track it, the key is tracking it, making sure that all the oil changes are done.
And then I was
So many
looking at these earlier, and some of them have mileage on them and some of them don't, but that should be required, that they, when they do their invoice, they put the mileage in, and they could use that to track it.
Almost like when you get an oil change, they put, you know, at this time you need another oil change, just so they're, because, I mean, when you're dealing with, there's only 3 cars, but, you know, when you're dealing with more than one car, and if you're not keeping track of it somehow, it just gets lost, and it's important, especially these cars that are sitting there idling or traveling a lot, it's important for them to be maintained. I asked about maintenance records, and I was told that there weren't any. That they were kept at the garages. Well, when, you know, one car goes here and one car goes there, but the car that goes here sometimes goes there too, that's not a good way of keeping records. I mean...
I don't know how I got them, but I've got a whole bunch of them.
You got them from the treasurer's office.
Those
I know.
Those are invoices.
Not the actual logs is what.
I don't even remember when I got them. I didn't know I had them
Yeah, those
until
are
a few
invoices,
minutes
so you
ago.
had to get those from the treasurer's office, because I have a whole bunch of them too, but that just tells me what maintenance has been done. That's, it's not a maintenance record that's going to look and say, okay, you get an oil change at 3,000 miles, you need to get another oil change at 8.
If you consistently go to the same place to get your oil
Well,
changes and all those records are
back-
available.
Well, when you've got
When-
your book in the car, you
Right.
just make
When I
notes
worked on
like that.
did the work on the cruisers, I kept my own log of it, and I knew about how often, when it would be due for the next service, and I would just call right over and talk to the other, I forgot her name, the other clerk, and she would just set it right up then. For, this is the one that was gonna be going, and then they would have it parked where I could get it, I'd go get it, take care of it, and bring it back. And we kept a record of each one individually, and when it was due, they didn't even ask me, I just did it, and I didn't ask them.
A lot of places do that. If you consistently take it to the same place, then you have that kind, I think a lot of, you know, Fletcher's used to do the state police cars, and it's...
Still do.
Still do.
Yeah,
So that's the
because-
same thing. He probably...
I never wrote on the bill, you're gonna need this soon. If it needed it, I fixed it.
Yeah, but Ian said he kept a log on the cars.
He did. He
So
knew what,
this was done and this needs to be done at a certain date. You know, transmission was flushed here, it needs to be flushed again in 3 years.
all
or 2
right,
years,
he knew
whatever it is. So,
exactly what,
You know, but that's what you need to do with these cruisers in order to be taking care of them. And we can't buy new cruisers until the cruisers are being taken care of. They need to be taken care of. There has to be a maintenance schedule. So you know a whole lot more about this, or how it could be done, or an efficient way to handle it. If you could think about it and let us know next meeting, you know, maybe we can go from there.
well, I think that what needs to be done is that whoever's doing the maintenance needs to be told that they don't have to ask to do it, just do it. And keep the maintenance done. And then they should have, like I did, a log, because I think when Ian was the chief and when Randy Ruock was the chief, about every 4 weeks, because they were putting about 1,000 miles a week, I think, or maybe not quite. So about every 4 weeks, they would come and get an oil change, and then I had it set up so that the transmission got done at like every 6 months or something, and then I kept track of the mileage so that any tune-ups or that, the brakes were always done at a certain amount of mileage. And I think the brakes were done at least once a year. And that's how we did it. And the reason that they started bringing those cruisers to me was because they had an emergency that they needed done, and the place that was doing it couldn't do it. So they brought me the cruiser. I did what they wanted, and while we did it, I checked the car over, and it was really in rough shape. So I had the chief come, he looked at it, he got approval for me to fix it, and then from then on, I did the work until I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
Plus, I always gave the town a break. I didn't charge the town full rate because I figure that I live here and, yeah, they're paying me, but then I'm taking the money right out of my pocket and giving it back in taxes. And it just doesn't seem to be that way anymore.
You want a job again?
No. I'd like to never work on another car again.
Okay. I think everybody's kind of fried. It's a busy week this week. We'll start, now we're going to be meeting at 5:30 on the 3rd for the union thing, from 5:30 to 6:30. We did discuss, we went through most of it to decide where we're at, and we'll tell them that, Sally, never mind, I'll check on the other issue we discussed. And see what's happening in the library. They don't come in front of us with their budget though, right? No, they don't.
I don't think they do.
They just go right to town meeting.
So, and what shall I do about any advice about the contract? Just, I don't know. I may have to get in touch with you if they expect a signature and we have to do that in order to get payment.
I don't know what to do about that. I just can't understand.
But I will talk to someone and ask them, how does this not occur in the future, for other
Well, with,
towns?
I mean, they all have computer systems that,
It's weird. It's weird. I don't know.
It doesn't surprise me at all, Sally. I spent too many years up there for anything to surprise me. But it shouldn't happen in this end either. I mean, that was a pretty big thing to be missing. So,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.